What up, YouTube? It's your boy LT, and I'm sitting in my truck, and I just had a thought this morning. I was thinking to myself, have you ever went to a job interview, and while they're interviewing you, they look at your resume or they look at your application, and they say okay, so it looks like 22 you worked here. 23 you worked here. 24 you worked here. 25 you worked somewhere different. 26 you worked somewhere. Why has there been every year like a different job? And I thought to myself, because I had a interviewer and that was asking me that question, and I thought I'd talk about it, a little bit. So if you don't know, I'm in the trucking industry. And in the trucking industry, there are a lot of bottlenecks and a lot of things that are going to prevent you from, getting type of money that you want to get to. So I'm thinking in my head, these hiring managers are so disconnected and so detached from reality. They are so detached from what the average truck driver has to go through. They are so detached from the fact that a lot of these trucking companies, they just don't want to pay. You could work for a company 2 years, 3 years, and not even receive a little raise, not even a 25-cent raise. And I think a lot of these hiring managers don't look at it like, well, the economy is getting worse, so people got to do what they got to do. They just look at it like gaps in your employment. But tell you a story. I remember when I was 18, I was working at Walmart, and I don't want to bring racism into it or anything like that, because it doesn't have nothing to do with that. But my coworkers were Hispanic, and I worked on a team that was very I'm just gonna say, I was the token black guy on that team. Everybody was Hispanic, one white boy, and then it was me. So I remember I went to go do my eval with Walmart, and this is why they really say you shouldn't share, your pay raises and your information with anybody, right? So I go get my eval, and the manager at the time, he's like, you're a good worker, you're consistent, a couple things you need to tweak, but you're a solid worker, you're consistent, we like you on the team. But unfortunately, Walmart isn't really giving high raises, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna give you 20 cents, right? Okay, I guess, if you say Walmart's not giving raises, right? So I remember there was two other people that were up for their eval, and afterwards they're like, man, I got a good eval, they giving out raises. So I'm like, just by curiosity, how much did you get? $1. Oh, really? And I remember I was so frustrated, because I'm like, this motherfucker lied to me. You said that Walmart wasn't giving out no raises. You gave me a 20-cent raise. You gave everybody else a $1 raise, right? So how are you supposed to work in a work environment just like that, when you have people around you that, they look at it like, well, he ain't gonna know, and they actively try to sabotage your upward mobility. You can't work like that, And a lot of these jobs, give their raises to middle management. They don't really care nothing about the worker bees like that. They're gonna give middle management all the money, all the raises. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they give middle management incentives to not give raises to good workers and stuff like that, because I don't think this is just something that happened to me. I think this happens to a lot of people in the industry. On YouTube, we see people all the time talking about, yeah, my job didn't give a raise, my job don't want to give a raise, the cost of living is going up, and I can't afford to work here anymore. And that's just what it is. Good workers cost. And if you don't want to reward good workers and stuff like that, they're not going to hesitate to go find jobs somewhere else. And I remember, back to my story, I was so frustrated And my parents told me, like, look, never pledge allegiance to a job that don't give a damn about you. They gave your coworkers $1. They gave you 20 cents hoping that you wouldn't know. They did that on purpose. They did it on purpose. So you need to take heed to that. Maybe go find you something else to do, because they don't really value you that way. They don't really value you. And it's true. I'm not going to stay at a job that would just play in my face like that. If I'm not wanted there, that's fine. Somebody else will want me. Go somewhere else. Go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. But I think a lot of these jobs, they look at it like, well, he ain't gonna know, and they don't really value you anyway. So a lot of times, they're looking at it like, well, we don't care. We'll just hire somebody else. It don't matter. There's a lot of people that have just lost their jobs. There are a lot of people that don't really have nothing going on and they're in desperation mode. And a lot of these companies, especially in the trucking world, they expect you to have a certain level of desperation. They love it when you just lost your job or whatever, because they could go in and they could finesse you. Just like I'm on Indeed and I'm looking at the work board, right? So I find a job. I'm not going to list the company. I never do that. I always keep a professional disposition with these companies, because you never know if you're going to need them in the future. So anyways, see this company, go apply for it, 26 an hour. Cool, 26 an hour ain't bad. I'll take it. I go into the interview, guys like, I like you. You got a lot of experience. I see that you've been doing this since really 2014. What were you looking at as pay? And I was like, well, I can tell you what your Indeed ad said, and then we could just go from there. The Indeed ad said 26 to 28, depending on experience. We see that I have over 10 years experience, so what you got for me? Oh, she didn't tell you right. Really, that job only pays 25. We're only paying $25 an hour. Even for CDLA drivers, $25 an hour. I don't know what she told you, but yeah, that's wrong. But sir, that's not what you put on the ad. On the ad, you put 26 to 28. You didn't put 25, So you see how they finesse you and try to play, little games with you and stuff like that. You put 28 on the ad, 26 to 28. So with 10 years experience, I should qualify for the 28, right? Nah, it don't work like that, sir. We only pay 25. Well, is there any way I could get 26? Yeah, you can get 26. You got a hazmat, right? Yeah, I got a hazmat. Well, we do carry hazmats from time to time. So if you decide that you want to do hazmat, we'll give you 26 for that. So you can get 26. Oh, and by the way, we also forgot to put no overtime, no time and a half. It's just straight pay. So after you're 40, you just get straight pay. Come on. And you wonder why you can't keep people. You wonder why people leave and stuff like that. And he had the audacity to ask me, well, it looked like every year you go and you find another company to work for. Why is that? Because a lot of companies try to finesse and cut down on their costs so that they don't have to pay drivers. Y'all too busy giving all the white collar people, all the middle management people raises and stuff like that. And the people that's doing the most work for you, you ain't giving them no money. You don't even want to get a 25-cent raise. How much is it going to hurt the company bottom line to give a 25-cent raise? So yeah, with that being said, I don't pledge allegiance to no company. I work, and then if the economy goes up and it doesn't benefit me to work there, I'm not going to work there. I'll go find somewhere else to work. But all of these trucking companies are running a finesse game where they put something else and then they do the whole bait and switch, because they're hoping that you are in a desperate position and that you'll take what they give you because you just got fired. Maybe, you're having a tough time on a job that you had, and, it's just not going the way that you want it to go. So my solution is this: make sure you have some rainy day money. Because if you get fired or you got to quit your job, you don't want to be just taking whatever you could get because you don't have no money saved up and the bills are coming. Make sure you have a rainy day fund, you know? And that needs to be going up, up, up every month. Keep your debt low, because in the trucking industry is very volatile. Sometimes you're flush, sometimes you bust. You might not have nothing, but that's just the way it goes, you know? But either way, this is getting a little long. I didn't want to do like a full form video or whatever. I just wanted to do like a small rant and kind of, you know, talk about it. And let me know in the comment section if some of you guys have gone to interviews and the person that's interviewing you is asking you why you went from job to job too, you know, or if you're the type of person that pledges allegiance to your job and stays on your job no matter what. I want to hear about it. Put it in the comment section if you are the type of person that stays at the job no matter what, you know, no matter what adversity, no matter how bad it is. If you don't get a raise, you just stay. I want to know about that too. I'd love to hear you guys' opinion, you know, especially truckers that been on their trucking company or been with their trucking company for a long time, 2 years and up, whatever. But I don't know. Like with me being a local truck driver, there's so many companies to work for, you know, so you got to go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. But with that being said, it's your boy LT. I'm out. Peace.